we'll explore a little bit. And there we go. Oh. And he managed to have his pocket picked to the tune of 28 pounds. Perfect. Good job. Alright guys, we are back with 80 days, and we're going to start off right where we ended up, and we landed in Istanbul. I think our plan of attack here is to keep on going towards India, potentially. I have not gone that way before. Potentially go through the Middle East, Saudi Arabia. But it seems like our only way right now is through Antalya. Antillia, I believe that's pronounced. Yeah, so we can't really do anything right now. It is too late. It is 8 at night. So we're going to just sleep it off. And we'll see what we can do in the morning. I woke this morning to in the silks of an Ottoman harem girl. Worse yet, I was in the forbidden women's apartment of Topkapi Palace. I had no memory of the previous night, at least none I wish to record, but quickly ascertained the peril of my position. It was not just my master's wager at stake. Men were forbidden here, and the punishment was liable to be most severe. There was only one option: to keep my head down and run. After some confusion, shouting, and dashing about, I took a brief but refreshing swim in the Bosphorus and emerged intact into the gentle mid-morning sun, wearing a thoroughly rumpled suit of lady's silks. I found Monsieur Fogg reading a newspaper back at our lodgings. He looked up and blushed a most violent shade of red as he took in my attire, setting his cup down with uncharacteristic force. I gave my master a much abbreviated account of my adventures, but I do not think he really understood. Still, I stammered through my words before we settled in to consider the next course of our journey. And he's embarrassed of us. We are not representing him well, so our relations have certainly deteriorated. Alright, so we could definitely go to Baghdad. It says we can get harem silks here. And we could definitely go to Baghdad. I think that might be not a bad idea. Baghdad is right here, and we could potentially get to there through Antalya. I think it's probably best for us to check out the market first. Right, we did get the harem silks. Okay, cool. So this is kind of where we're at right now. Yeah, we don't need either of these. Let's explore. I'll just kind of zoom that forward an hour. I did not mean to go to the bank. We're actually doing fine on money. Monsieur Fogg looked up from his ledger. We are due to visit the bank, I think, passport 2. And I'm just going to ignore all this, because we're just going to ignore it. We actually do not think we need the money. We're going to explore instead. Hopefully it doesn't cost us too much. But we did find another route. Some more routes from Istanbul. Actually, that's perfect. Wow. There's a train route all the way to Kabul. I found myself in the historic quarter of Sultanahmet, in the shadow of the glorious minarets in the Blue Mosque. I had some hours before I had to return to Monsieur Fogg, and was finding myself attracting some attention in my flashing silks. I made my way to the Grand Bazaar, a covered market holding thousands upon thousands of stalls, divided into streets of vendors selling everything from Turkish leather slippers to dried fruits and nuts stacked in precarious pyramids. The vendors called out in every language known to man, and I'd wager some entirely invented. I pressed into the raucous throng, my senses overwhelmed by the calls of the vendors and the aromas of cinnamon and mint. From one man's stall I picked up a worked silver dagger. Ah, the Balkan Kandjar with the watered steel blade. A formidable choice, mademoiselle, the vendor enthused. A ceremonial item, although, and he winked. It may have practical uses for a beautiful lady such as yourself. I smiled at him, and he offered me the dagger for 60 pounds. I actually don't think we want this. I don't think we have the space for it. It could be worthwhile somewhere down the line, but it was too much, so I left him with a nod and walked away. I explored the city further. The streets were full of magnificent sights. Bright marbled mosques with minarets that glowed in the sunlight. Historic places with rambling manicured gardens. and a mob gathering on a street corner. Being Parisian, I had a keen sense for a riot, and I asked someone to explain their grievance. "We are protesting against the Sultan's so-called modernization," a young medical student told me breathlessly. "A worthy cause," I declared. "Indeed. What are modern institutions without liberty? The time of absolute monarchy is over, sister." I pulled my veil ever so securely around my face as the crowd surged forward, shouting slogans in Arabic and English and even some well-worn phrases stolen directly from the French Revolution. I spotted an empty side street and took my chance. Ducking in, I waited until the crowd passed. But I was soon not alone. The students should have followed my lead. I ignored him and moved away, and he somewhat studiously, no doubt on account of my costume, ignored me. And we're now organized. Alright. So, I think we can go to Beirut. Oh no, that's actually someone else. They're taking that. I keep forgetting. You'll see occasionally different signs like the airship, and it basically means that different people, like the game records other people's travels as well, so we can kind of see what other people are doing. So, updated yesterday, we can kind of see what their the route of attack is. We could go to Antalya. So Izmir? I don't think so. I do think actually we want to go to Antalya. I think we want to try and go to Baghdad and get some extra cash. So let's do that. Hopefully we can get down to Beirut that way. No, we can afford to wait. We're pretty early in our adventure, so we will just wait it out. So we'll just spend some time relaxing. Before retiring, I afforded my master every service, ensuring he had fresh tea with the intention he would have a restorative night. And our relationship strengthened slightly. Yeah, we weren't super low, but it was might be useful just to bring him up to full health there. So again, we can depart on the train. That would get us to Tehran. We could go to Baghdad that way, but that seems a little bit backtracking. And it does arrive Tuesday. I think it might be worth just to go to Antalya, to Beirut, and then we'll go try and hit up Baghdad from there. But we will see. Let's spend another day. We took a room and settled in. And I spent a few hours walking around and found a charming Slavic madame who had lost a monocle, which I helped to recover, and who then, between bouts of great political passion, mentioned that you could obtain Persian pottery in Tehran that will sell for a fortune in Kabul. I thanked her, and she shrugged and went about her business. So let's go ahead and depart. Let's go to Antalya. It's only 82 pounds for us. And because we have the Gentleman Traveler set, it reduces the damage that the travel should go. So, sounds good to me. We're having on a Trevithick steam carriage. Goods from across Europe were taken by steam carriage across the Ottoman Empire. We found a shipment heading for Antalya and jumped aboard. The driver was a young boy who wore thick darkened goggles and a headscarf tied tightly around his head to keep out the dust. He looked terribly hot, I thought, and uncomfortable, especially sitting so close to the main boiler. "Are you not uncomfortable?" "This is my favorite place in the whole world," he laughed. "Now hold on." I grabbed one of the side rails of the carriage as he stoked the fire, opened the steam valve, and took off at terrific speed up the steep road slope. We can converse with the driver here. So yeah, we're trying to get to Baghdad, so let's see if there's a route there. No, I do not drive. Leave it to the professionals. Very good idea. Alright, Baghdad. Maybe the Suez? No. How about, Tehran? Alright, well, we gained some info. We could take that route. It is potential. Has potential. Soon the sea was far behind us, and we were making our way along winding roads, tossing from one side to the other. The boy took each corner with easy familiarity, moving the steering lever with quick flicking motions. "You have been to Istanbul before?" the boy demanded. "You are frequent travelers?" "We are going around the world," I replied cheerfully. "Around the world!" The boy laughed wildly. How I would love that. When I grow up, I will be an adventurer." "You have the spirit for it," I agreed, and as though to prove me right, he steered with ever more savage abandon. That night we slept in the carriage, which unfolded rather cleverly to form a tent. I discovered a certain detail during the night, which I will share here, but nowhere else. As I went out to stretch my legs prior to attempting to sleep, I came across our driver, a short distance from the carriage, sans headscarf and goggles. Without this disguise, it was quite obvious that our driver was not a boy at all. He was not even human. Monsieur Fogg was oblivious, sleeping quite comfortably with his hat down over his eyes. I envy his clarity of purpose. Ah, how much easier to go through life without becoming tangled in its complexities. The next day I said nothing to our driver, and we continued the journey amicably, if somewhat more quietly than before. A few more hours passed, and we arrived within sight of the sea once more. Antalya, there we go. Our traveling coat could sell for a decent amount. And we are going, it looks like we're going towards the Ottoman Empire. It might be useful to go that way. Yeah, I think Baghdad and Bombay. I think that's definitely where we want to be going. I think we're okay with not buying any of these. So let's explore. I spent my afternoon rambling around Kalesi, the historic center of Antalya, which was where I happened upon a group of Turkish dockhands unloading crates of Venetian goods into a warehouse flying the French flag. Speaking to them was a tiresome affair, and I could not help feeling sorry for the French employer, one Monsieur Fontaine. "Though we've never met him," one of them added bitterly. "Is he a good employer?" I asked politely, seeming to make small talk. Alas, my innocent inquiry was not taken as such. "Why do you ask?" a dockhand fired back, crossing his arms. "Perhaps you are Monsieur Fontaine." "You found me out," I gave a booming laugh, the sort the Monsieur Fontaine of my imaginings would boom. Such an empathetic fellow he was, prone to making friends and acts of random generosity. Alas, my invented backstory saw me doling out banknotes to these dockhands quite haphazardly. Thus was I ensconced to my role. I spent a cheerful, if deceptive afternoon getting to know my employees and inspecting the merchandise. They cracked open a crate to reveal a treasure trove of Venetian glass glittering blue-green in the Anatolian sun. I pocketed a particularly fine piece before they bid me a respectful farewell. So we've got funds have gone down a little bit because we were literally just giving money out to these people, but we're now well heeled, so that might help us in the future. That's unfortunate. I want to go to Baghdad. I think we'll probably be able to do that through Beirut. So leaves tomorrow at 11, and we will just do that. And we'll spend the night. So at the last light of the evening, I ran a few errands for the hotelier, earning £68. So yeah, you'll see a lot of the same things for hotels. You can either like help Fogg, heal him up a little bit. We can either try and get some money, or we can, help someone out and we can earn some information on goods that might sell more or less in different places. So let's depart. Let's go to Beirut. I'm on the merchant trader Nefertiti. There we go. The Nefertiti was a tall-masted Egyptian clipper that sailed around the coastline from Antalya all the way to Alexandria. I was content to enjoy the ride for as long as it would last. The boat sailed smoothly, the water was clear and beautiful, and with Monsieur Fogg happily ensconced... There's that word again. I just don't think I know that word. Ensconced below decks, I was free to enjoy a stroll on the deck well into evening, as though I was the traveling gentleman and not his personal Sherpa. Yeah, it's a little hard doing a little bit of everything. Let's tend on Fogg a little bit. The evening drew on and the crew served gin slings with great cheer. The captain nodded to me as the liquor was poured. "Enjoy," he called. I saluted him with my glass and savored the cool drink as the sun went down in fire and smoke across the sea. And there we go, we landed in Beirut. Anything in the market that we can do? Nothing of ours sells particularly well. We do have this piece of Venetian glass. I think we might want to... Let's just sell this and move the Venetian glass over. I don't think we need the perfume just now. And we'll spend the night. Let's plan. I'm hoping that we can find a route from Beirut to Baghdad. We will just have to see. I've already gone that southern route. You'll see my gray. If we zoom out again, you'll see this like line running through here. This is the route I took before, actually. I'd like to try a different route, so that's kind of the plan we're going with now. So hopefully if we sleep, we'll be able to explore a little bit. We found no true hotel, only a boarding house of rooms around a central courtyard in which a fountain danced, and various people sat and talked in hushed tones. As I looked around, I found something suspect in every pair of eyes I met. So, naturally, I was curious. I introduced myself to a likely-looking pair. They had just arrived from Baghdad and were full of glories of that city. "Tell me more," I demanded, and so the woman, one Madame Azir, enthused about the generous hospitality and warm welcome expected from all Baghdadis. "I shall look forward to it," I declared cheerfully. Madame Azir and her male companion took their leave from the fountainside, insisting on recommending a spot in town where we might find a driver to Baghdad before going. Oh, perfect. That's literally exactly what we wanted. I'm glad that we managed to make that talk there. I was left sitting beside the fountain, listening to the whispering water, until I retired. Perfect. So we're gonna definitely go to Baghdad. It's only 91 pounds. That's really not too bad, and we can keep all two of our bags. So it's definitely tiring, but again, we have that Dreadnought Traveler set, and that makes things a little bit better, because uncomfortable conditions, dusty roads, cruel desert. Let's go. Desert car. That thing looks insane. We found a driver willing to cross the desert in a car powered by an eclectic collection of sails, mirrors, glass tubes, and steam power. I refused to board until I knew it worked. The last thing we wanted was this strange contraption turning out to be a sheer fantasy 300 miles into a deep desert. But the driver was happy to demonstrate how the sunlight heated the fluid in the tubes, which was then forced through narrow gaps containing cog teeth that drove the engine. The liquid was then cooled under the car in the shade by the very movement itself. "An ingenious arrangement," I declared, and the driver grinned to show his one tooth and gestured us aboard. The car began to ascend once it was turned on, and then we were off across the sands. So let's converse with the driver, see if we can learn a bit about Baghdad. Let's check out, how about Tehran? We traveled on the Khmer Taj. It's a true marvel. I'll have to check that out, see what that is. How about to Bandar Abbas? I don't know, but listen, a curious little place, Bandar Abbas. Alright, thanks for letting us know. Thank you. Within a few hours we were in deep desert, the bobbing car dropping and rising above the loose and uneven yellow stone. In all directions there was nothing to be seen but the misty heat haze rising from the sand. I kept my eyes peeled on the horizon, hoping for a glimpse of, well, anything, but there was nothing to be seen. After several hours, the heat and the smell of the constant bubbling of the car began to grate on my nerves, so I was overjoyed to see the outline of buildings rising up through the haze. Yeah, let's sneak in a little bit pampering of Passepartout before we land in. We spent the night feasting on spices and pulses and drinking a dark beer-like drink in the ruined walls of an ancient city. I have no idea of its name or history. None of its inhabitants spoke English, and our driver disappeared within moments of our arrival. But we rested well, and we were well set up to leave the next morning. The journey the next morning, by comparison, much easier. I asked about the ruins, and the driver shrugged. "Very old indeed," he said. "Once a river ran through that city, and for 4,000 years a great empire flourished." "What happened to it?" He shrugged. "The river moved. Some changes cannot be prevented." The domes and towers of Baghdad rose into view, and the sound of chanting drifted across the open plains towards us. Yeah, we will definitely be selling some stuff, Monsieur Fogg, but we have to rest, so let's go ahead and do that. Definitely gonna bump up our funds, so that's good. We stayed in Baghdad at the Tio Hotel, owned by one Marcus Tio, a man of most improbably pale skin in these desert climates. "You've only recently taken over this place?" I asked. "I have owned the hotel for many years," he replied stolidly, "but I have Norwegian blood in me, so I am very cautious of the sun." "How does a Northman come to be here?" I persisted. "Sometimes I ask myself the same thing," he said with a sigh. "I have a little interest in travel myself. My fascinations are elsewhere. I enjoy experiments." Oh, we're definitely finding out. "Whatever do you mean?" I asked, intrigued. "I have a great fascination with things," he replied, gesturing with a hand around the bar at the cluttered shelves, the ornaments, the fine antiquities that covered every surface. "And I recently acquired a most wonderful thing." "And what thing is that?" "A balloon," he declared with great joy. "My son is taking it to Tehran in the next few days. Are you a fellow balloonist, dear sir? Perhaps you would enjoy the ride." "Not as yet," I replied. "I will mention it to my master." Tio nodded. "Excellent. And here, something else. Another thing." I looked on in interest. From the shelf on the wall, he took down a beautifully crafted dagger. "This is as old as the city, and very valuable, I'm sure. Please, from me." You are most generous." "Oh, I'm not," he smiled. "I've been told by people I trust unreservedly that these things bring bad luck, and I will be happy to be rid of it." "Then I can no more afford ill luck than you." I left the dagger untouched. He shrugged. "I cannot blame you." "A most honest man, Monsieur Tio," I thought as I bid him good night, if perhaps not the cleverest macaroon in the patisserie. All right. I'm not sure how I feel about that that comparison right there, but so let's explore a little bit. The Ottoman Empire has ruled Baghdad for the last 300 years, give or take a few decades of Iranian and Mamluk rule. It was a city in decline from its glory days, and riven by plague, cholera, and famine. "What am I doing here?" I wondered aloud. "Don't you know yourself?" a voice inquired from behind me. And so I met Monsieur Eli Ezra, Baghdadi by birth, Jewish by religion, and merchant by trade, as he put it. He took me under his wing with the hospitality I'd come to associate with my travels in the Middle East. He promised I would enjoy my time in Baghdad, however brief it was. I asked him for advice on how best to travel through. "India, yeah, definitely." And he sucked on his teeth. "My master owns a fleet of airships in Karachi. She can get you to Delhi or Bombay for a price." I asked Monsieur Ezra for the food and for the advice, and he slapped me on the back and pressed a packet of dates and figs into my hands before I left his home. A most welcoming place, Baghdad. I was almost sorry we did not have more time to spend here. Okay. So there's India. There's Karachi. So maybe if we go to Muscat, let's actually try that route. Let's go down to Manama. That arrives Monday. It departs in 2 days. And we can potentially go to Karachi that way. So yeah, I like that idea. Let's do that. But first, we made it to Baghdad. Let's sell these harem silks, make some good money. And in this medallion. No, we're gonna go to Bombay for sure. I think that's definitely our plan here. Let's get this cold compress. It might be rough travels ahead, so yeah, we'll see what we have to do. So let's take a little bit of a nap. As night fell, yeah, let's top him off. I afforded my master every service, ensuring he was comfortable with the hopes he would have a comfortable night. And there we go. That improves our relationships too. What do we want to do here? No, I think we still want to go to Manama. I think it's worth it for us to try and reach to Karachi that way. I don't know. I think the train's probably going to be mad expensive. Yeah, it's 320 pounds. Let's wait a day for the cheaper route. We'll explore a little bit. And there we go. Oh. And he managed to have his pocket picked to the tune of 28 pounds. Perfect. Good job. Okay, let's go to Manama. The Farabi. It's a crazy looking car. We found a driver without difficulty and clambered aboard. A 2-day journey? I asked by way of confirmation. 3, the driver replied. How much to make it 2? I demanded. The driver laughed. 300. No. Or do we? Yeah, let's do it. We made some money. We can dole it out a little bit. Very good, very good, the driver chirped, and he stoked his engine, and we were away before we could argue. There we go. So, let's talk to Fogg here. Our funds are doing pretty good, and Manama, let's see if he knows anything. Bahrain is under the protection and control of the British Raj. That's actually super interesting because I'm in a British Empire class, and we're literally learning about this right now, about the British Raj. The Raj means rule, so it's when India and the Bahrain and the surrounding areas are all British colonies. So see if he knows anything about Dubai. My aunt used to work aboard the Persian Gulf ferry from Dubai to Bandar Abbas. Alright, so we definitely know we can cross the sea there from Dubai. The road from Baghdad south took us upon a mountainous ridge that offered spectacular views across desolate land on either side. This way is often used by camel trains, our driver explained. If we see one, I will gun the engine and see if we can make them kick. It did not seem like a very gentlemanly way to behave. A matter which I kept to myself, however, in the interests of keeping peaceful relations within the small cockpit of the car. And look at that, it seems like we took the right approach there. Today we drove along the coast, through market town after market town. The water was thronged with boats rigged with a single wide sails. Most were fishing, but some seemed to career around the bay for mere sport. The views were worth savoring, even though the sun had become uncomfortably hot. We both got rather badly burnt, but we did get a marvelous view of the fishing vessels leaving Manama's harbor bound for Dubai and further on. Sometimes they all seemed to pause, to wait for an airship to fly overhead. I asked our driver about it, and he nodded. They have a sea gun in Muscat, he replied, to prevent pirates from shooting up at the airships. When the gun is out, there's nothing to do but wait. A formidable weapon, clearly, to hold back so many boats at one time. Still no camels, the driver reported with clear chagrin as we arrived within sight of Manama. I asked where we might find some, and he looked at me with enthusiasm. There are camel trains that lead from Ha'il into the desert, he said, and you hear some interesting things about what they find. And then we disembarked and loaded the cases and waved our driver off into the distance. Wow, that is a massive route. I can't imagine what that route would be like, actually. Yeah, we're gonna let's explore while we have the chance. Is there anything in the market that we can sell for? These are a little bit more. That gentleman traveler kit is definitely helping us out. Yeah. So we will. Let's explore. We're gonna have to find our next route. Oh wow. Oh, that's insane. We can go all the way to Bombay. British influence over Bahrain had been cemented within the signing of the Perpetual Truce of Peace and Friendship some 20-odd years ago, which made Manama a town almost most congenial to Monsieur Fogg's particular tastes. I bought some Darjeeling tea from a vendor who supplied the British residents in Bushehr. Monsieur Fogg showered me with appreciation, which is to say he gave me the slightest of nods. He is not a demonstrative man, but I dare say I am growing used to it. So our funds have gone down a little bit, but we've strengthened a little bit. It seems like we can go all the way to Bombay aboard the, what is this, the Hadbil? We can also go to Dubai. I still think we want to go to Karachi. I almost think we need to go to Karachi. What do we have? Oh wait, no, we can go to Bombay like right now. Well, I say let's do it. I say let's do it. Let's sell this vodka. It's just not really doing too much for us now. We're not going up north, and that's fine. Yeah, well, let's do this. And I think once we reach Bombay, I think that will end this episode. We'll continue on. I'm trying to reduce the length of our episodes here. I want to make sure that they're accessible to as most people as possible. The Hadil was a steam yacht with barkentine sails and a compound steam engine, dwarfed by the ornate pleasure boats moored alongside her. Most private yachts were owned by wealthy merchants and the aristocracy, which used them as glorified ballrooms, whereas the Hakil had worked as a whaler until recently, but she was currently loaded with Bahraini pearls and bound for the port of Bombay. Let's make sure Fogg is comfortable here. It shouldn't be too tiresome of a journey, but yeah. We departed. I allowed my master to board first, as was customary, and spent the evening recovering from all the lifting and carrying. A wearying start to our maritime voyage. Let's see if we can talk a little bit about Bombay. How about Calcutta? Salt Lake City is linked to Cheyenne aboard the Transcontinental Express. Alright, perfect. Good thing we know about Salt Lake City all the way here in the Middle East. Thank you for knowing. How about some dates and figs? Oh. Let's ask a little bit more about Bombay, huh? Large Artificers Guild outpost in Bombay. Maybe we can do something with that black cube there. Oh, top hats sell good in Rangoon. Well, we certainly have one. We might want to try and change up our outfit when we get there. How about Madras? The Piedmont Airline from New Orleans to New York. Thank you so much. It's not really what we want, but how about Colombo? Alright, so Madras to Colombo. And Colombanese airships to Colombo became popular. So there we go. We can go to, that's great. Awesome. So that's a huge train route from San Francisco, New Orleans to New York. Certainly we might potentially be going these ways, but never know, never know. Today we rounded the famed Strait of Hormuz, an impossibly small channel of water linking the Persian Gulf with the open ocean. We nearly collided with a steamship flying the flag of British India and carrying a cargo of rice and ghee. Monsieur Fogg went positively green on deck. I must admit, I greeted the open ocean with gratitude after the crowded strait and was carried off to sleep into the rhythmic gurglings of the Hadil's boilers. Yeah, we're definitely going to want to try and make Fogg here a little bit healthier. What do you know about Bombay? British still control them. Yep, that's definitely true. Nova Goa? I mean, you know. The last bank in Nova Goa is closed. Okay, well, we're not really using banks too much. I find them really a waste of time almost. Allahabad. Okay, small settlement. Why would you go there? Alright, point taken. Understood. We spotted a whale. Though, apparently it was not a whale at all, but a dreaded sea monster that had recently eaten an entire steamer bound for Malacca, hull and all. The crew was agitated and muttered amongst themselves. It was not their first sighting of this creature, which was impossibly fast and deadly. Ships had been going missing for years, and there was even some talk of an international expedition to hunt the creature. The crew of the Hadil, however, had no such dreams of glory. I watched for the monster's shadow for several hours, but to my misfortune, or perhaps my luck, we saw no further sign of it. So close to Bombay. So close. Looks like we're just about to make it. Our first glimpse of Bombay was a fluttering mass of colorful sails and gaily decorated hulls. Enormous schooners and steamships were docked in the deep water of the harbor, swarmed by little fishing vessels, and sailboats. The sky was enlivened by airships in all sizes and configurations. Steam and smoke poured into the sky. Alas, I was already sweating by the time the Hadil docked. And there we did. We made it to Bombay, and that is going to end our episode. I'm going to pause it here. Don't want to waste our time. So thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to continue on through India, see what India has to take for us. We have some train routes that we could check out, and we'll see what this game has for the rest for us. All right, thanks so much for tuning in.